So hi Marc, welcome. How are you?
Hey, very well. Thank you for having me.
Good, good. Are you ready to talk about love?
I'm always ready to talk about love.
Great. It's obviously a lovely topic, although it can be quite a tough one for some people. Um, so I explained in the intro that we have gathered some of the more frequently asked questions from the participants of our trainings, more specifically conscious relationships, and also our online community. So to kick off the conversation, to give a bit of context to what we're talking about here, what is love, according to Marc Steinberg?
For most people, love is a feeling, but a feeling is a chemical reaction in the brain. And that's why we can produce feelings of love through certain pills, psychoactive plants, etc. Now, just imagine if the saints of this world would be needing to wait for a feeling of love, because they would not be very effective. They would need to wait for the next wave of feeling before they can continue doing good in this world. And that's not going to happen. Why? Because the brain functions by the principle of homeostasis. That means that when you go into a high, and being in love is a high state of the brain, the brain is desensitizing that experience, and over time, it is going back to normal. That's why we fall out of love, because the brain is not able to be permanently in that high state. So now, the real deal love is independent from high, normal, low feelings, because it's not a feeling, it's a state of being. And unconditional love means that love is not depending on conditions. So it's not a matter of the way I feel, it's a matter of I am, which we can come to later.
Okay.
So this is the love that I understand, that I desire, so I can love someone but not like them, because liking, again, is a feeling. You can anger me, you can humiliate me, you can disappoint me, and if I'm in a state of love, I will still be able to love you because I'm not identifying it with a particular way to feel. And if I have that distinction, then I open the door for unconditional love, and I free myself, I liberate myself from the dependency of a feeling. You know, in relationships, it's so sad because people are getting together based on a feeling. And then that feeling, because they don't know better, the brain is not able to uphold that particular feeling. That feeling goes away, and then they question their love. And then the problems are starting in the relationship. So love and feeling are two separate things, and one knows that one can liberate oneself and stay and move in a state of unconditional love.
Okay, and then so the second question is, and you've kind of touched on it a little bit, can you love somebody and not be in love? Because often a lot of relationships end, and we hear a lot that people say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And what do you see as the distinction there? And do you think that you can love someone and not be in love with them?
Yeah. Being in love, that is what we can call a romantic engagement. And it depends on triggers.
Mm-hmm.
That means that when there is a bunch of triggers that triggers positive emotions in me, then the sum total of that can be experienced and is labeled what people call being in love. And when those triggers fail to work, then that being in love is going away. And therefore, again, like before, we are setting ourselves up for a challenge we are not prepared to handle, because the awareness and the spiritual maturity isn't in place to deal with it. There are three phases of love: Eros, Venus, and Agape. Now, Eros is being in love. Then trigger, 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 and woo, I am in love. And if everybody knows that what has a beginning must have an end. It's a law. And the real deal of love, the unconditional love doesn't have a beginning and doesn't have an end. It's like the love of a mother for her children. There's like and dislike. Every mother who's honest can admit that. But the love is unquestionable. It's permanent, it is continuous, it's unconditional. And therefore, yes, it's absolutely possible to love and to not at the same time like, as in the conditioned feeling of I like you when particular triggers are activated. If you don't do what I want, I don't like you. If you do what I want, I do like you. That's a very cheap deal, but most people live by that.
So you've mentioned a lot about loving somebody and it not being dependent on things. And so do you think you can really love somebody and not like them very much?
Absolutely. Yes, you can. And that reminds me of an event that happened about 12 years ago in Cape Town when I lived in South Africa. One of my best trainers, she was in the outskirts of Cape Town, and she really is a magnificent trainer and causes a lot of people to change their lives. But I never really liked her. And she was always puzzled by that mixed energy that I was radiating. On the one side, I was completely supporting her, loving her. On the other side, I never thought of having a cup of coffee with her or anything in the like realm. So one day we sat down in my office, I remember, sun was shining in, and it was a moment to be really honest. And I said to her, I do love you, but I don't like you. And she paused. And she said, I'm so glad you say that, because for me it's the same. And we both had a good laugh. We were so free and so liberated. We continued working. She's still with the company today. And we don't need to be in the obligation of being nice in order to match the expectations of the other that trigger the feeling of they like me. Mm-hmm. Because the distinction between love and like, that it's not linked, liberated us from loving each other and doing what people do when they love, in the sense we mean love here, being free from the need to be liked. It's an awesome, awesome way of being.
Great. And so on to the next one then. Do you think you can truly love somebody when you don't love yourself? So a lot of us struggle to really love ourselves, like ourselves. A lot of people that come on our trainings, it's a big challenge for them. They don't think they're good enough. So do you think that you can really love another if you don't have self-love?
If you don't love yourself and you believe you love another, then that's not love. That's need. Then you need another, but you are in need of another, but not in love. The self-love is the foundation for truly loving and not needing. Loving is a state of giving. Loving is a state of appreciation. Loving is a state of awe. It doesn't ask anything in return. So there is no codependency. There's no energy of expectations. It is, over the long term, absolutely damaging in relationships to allow expectations to be there on which the other, conscious or unconsciously, need to fulfill on in order for you to authorize yourself to remain in the relationship and to say, I love you. Now, that is a principle that is really not sustainable. Sooner or later, people will rebel against any set of obligations. So the reason when people don't love themselves is that they do not accept particular aspects of themselves they have an image about themselves they are not able to live up to, the perfectionist. And therefore, they don't like them as they are. They would love them if they were different. And that's exactly that blueprint what we bring into the relationship. Then we only love the other if the other matches our expectations. And they feel that. And when they are in need, they do the same with me. And then the relationship becomes very stressful because we both need to fulfill on each other's expectations. And that only can go as for that long. And then it's over because both people will rebel against each other. Then the power struggle is starting. Then the accounting is starting. I did that for you and you don't do that for me. And then the whole ugliness of a relationship is starting to happen. Yeah. So loving yourself means that you go the long and wonderful route of learning to love yourself. And then when you love yourself without conditions, then you're able to love another without conditions. And that's when the real love is happening.
A lot of people struggle with loving themselves. And like you just said, it's very difficult to love another if you don't love yourself. But there's probably a lot of people in our audience who are in relationships and struggle with self-love. But do you think you can still be in a relationship and find that self-love? It's not something you have to figure out on your own.
But not because of the relationship. The relationship makes it a little bit more difficult because then you are already in the dynamics of managing the relationship that is built on both people not loving themselves completely and therefore having exactly that disaster recipe going, what I just explained. So yes, it's possible, but you need to do the work on a spiritual level, whatever works for you, whether it is religious, whether it is spiritual, philosophical, esoterical. You need to choose a path that works for you to remove all that within yourself that hinders the natural self-love that you have been born with. It's not something you have lost. It's something that is covered up by all the conditioned layers that are responsible for self-hate instead of self-love. But that is a path you need to choose outside of the relationship, except you're married to a guru. Then you can do it inside the relationship.
Brilliant. So that's the advice. Do lots of hard work or marry a guru. Great. So then the next question. I think a lot of people, and it's kind of similar to being in love and loving. But in your eyes, what's the difference between love and passion? And do you think a relationship can have both, and does it need both?
So love we covered.
Yeah.
Passion, when we asked what is passion, passion is a heightened state of being inspired and motivated. Can I love and not be passionate? Yes. Can I have passion and not love? Yes. Can I have both? Yes. But the two are not linked. So if I am in a state of love and I want to have passion, I simply need to work on finding out what is it that I need to tap into, allow for, to become inspired again. And what is it I need to tap into in order to be motivated? Something that really is making my heart sing and my soul smile and my being dance. That is where we can find passion. And in a relationship, to have both is a big challenge. The loss of passion in a relationship is one of the most common factors of long-term engagements. In the beginning, passion is there because that's an eros phase of a relationship. That means the other is still unknown. That means I'm connected to a mystery. The other is not yet familiar. The other is not yet part of what my mind already knows. However, the more I spend time with the other, the more familiar the other gets, the less passion I experience, because passion is only possible in the context of otherness. If the otherness isn't there anymore, there is no possibility for passion, because passion requires an innocent state of mind, a mind that is not stuck in familiarity. Anybody who is living in a set of the known is lacking passion. Passion is the discovery of a child of something in awe. It's like the Bible asks us to become like children again. That means to be excited about life, to see life as a mystery. For this, we would need to learn how to move beyond the familiarity of the mind, how to be in a state that is beyond the memories I have collected about the other, so that I can sit with the one I'm already with for 5 years and be in an internal state of otherness. If I don't do that, then I will be forced to produce otherness by getting a new partner. And that's what many people do out of desperation. They don't want to leave a relationship. They would love to continue with the partner, but it's so boring. They can't find passion and fire anymore. So then they are ending the relationship. And in the new, they find it again. They now think this is the one. And the same pattern is happening. The more they get to know the other, the less the other is other. You see what I'm saying? And the passion is gone again. So there's no other way than to learn to regain the passion inside. And that is only possible when we are learning to move in our being, who we are, in a state of awareness that is beyond the mind. As long as we are in the mind, we will always go through the same cycle. We can have different partners, different jobs, different environments. We can live in a different city. In the beginning is honeymoon, and after honeymoon, there is boredom. This is all over the place, and it's a function of the mind. It has nothing to do with the external circumstances. That is what people need to consider. The moment they realize that the next partner, the next job, the next whatever it is not going to make the difference, that's the moment when they have a chance to take a look and ask the question, okay, what is it in me I need to shift in order to have a continuous passion in my life, passion for life.
Okay, yeah, that's beautiful. So you're saying that we have a choice of whether or not we see things as being familiar and boring, or we can look at the world and look at the other with curiosity and unfamiliarity, even if we know them very well.
Yes, we do have a choice to learn to create that awareness that gets us beyond the mind. It's only possible outside of the mind. So it's not just I choose to. No, it doesn't work. Yeah, you can choose. You can choose to learn that, and that means you choose a spiritual path that allows for the development of your self-realization to the level where you are being outside of the mind. And then you are in the space of presence, and presence is always fresh and innocent.
Yeah, clear. And then that leads us nicely into the next question of, if your relationship is lacking passion, is it possible to get it back once it's gone? And I guess, you kind of answered that in that question with regards to, it starts with you. So it doesn't necessarily start with the other or doing something in the relationship, it's doing something with yourself. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're going to end, because we've been going for a long time now. So we're going to end on, so to wrap everything up, what do you think makes a good relationship?
Any relationship is only as good as you are. is only as good as your level of self-realization allows. See, it's easy to understand when I say any relationship you have is as good as you are, but it's very hard for people to accept, because that would mean they look into their relationships, and many of them, with all due respect, are not relationships, but relationships. And so then when they consider, well, Marc said, any relationship I have is as good as I am, that would mean I am like my husband, I am like my wife, I am like my boss. No, that's not true, right? And here we enter the field of self-delusion. And only those who accept the possibility that the external reality we experience is an accurate, honest mirror of our internal reality. That's not convenient to consider. That's pretty tough to consider. I salute everyone who has the courage to at least spend a moment in the perspective, what if the way my boss behaves is an exact mirror of how I am internally in reality, in contrast to what I believe I am? What if my partner is displaying exactly that stuff that I believe in my own vanity that I don't have? And therefore I can conveniently point the finger, and fingers are pointing back to me. Yeah, but I don't see that. I don't want to confront that. So in relationships, we have the incredible opportunity to be mirrored exactly the way we are, but it's so inconvenient, so that we are starting to fight against our partner, fight against and all the nightmare that goes on. But the truth is that our partners are mirroring it. That means in order for you to have a good relationship, you yourself need to become good. As within, so without. You always have the relationship that mirrors your inner reality, whether you like it or not. And then when you change, your relationships change.
Beautiful. That's great. I think that's a good point to end on.